What is up, everybody? We're Rolling Audio here today on episode 62 of The Hotter Show. How the heck are ya? I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day and week so far. Thank you so much for tuning in, clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast, where I kind of get into, I guess we'll call it a somewhat serious topic, actually, for once. I talk a little bit about the title of this podcast. Might confuse some people. Some people might have conflicting opinions and that kind of thing on it, and that's why I think this is going to be a very interesting podcast. Simply put, ladies and gentlemen, do what you want and screw everyone else. What exactly do I mean when I say that? Well, you'll find out. I'll just leave it at that. It's not probably exactly what you think it is. It is not me saying that you can go rob a bank and that's fine. But I do talk in pretty in depth about some stuff, and as far as just doing things that make you happy, if that kind of helps shed some light on a little bit more, and why you shouldn't care what other people think. So I think it's definitely a very interesting podcast. Definitely very excited for you guys to listen to it. Hopefully, maybe some people who maybe need to hear a message like that get a kick with it. Hopefully some people, if they happen to disagree with some things that I say, by all means, please feel free to hit me up. I'm not, I'm a very opinionated person, as I do mention in this podcast. But I'm not above hearing people's opinions on things or anything like that. So, if anything I say, you go, I don't know if I agree with that, let me know. Obviously within a respectful limit. But I think I get my point across pretty damn good, and I think that I don't leave a lot of room for people to disagree with me with a lot of the things I'm talking about, because I think most people can relate to it. So, what else is going on? Well, this is the third episode now here, folks. That's the producer of The Hotter Show, Mr. Brandon Bowden, is going to be kind of fully editing for me. And what that means is that this beautiful sound quality you are hearing is in part due to his wonderful talents. The other half of it is because of this lovely board that I am running through, that I got as a birthday gift from my wonderful girlfriend and her family. So that's very awesome. I hope you guys are enjoying the sound quality. I know a couple people have said to me, hey, like, it's actually noticeably better. So that's awesome. I am so pumped. I have never been more proud of the podcast than I am right now. So shout outs to Brandon, the producer of The Hotter Show, for what you're doing, man. Thank you for doing this. And shout out to you, whoever you are, for listening in to the podcast today. I hope that you are so far enjoying what you are hearing, and that you can kind of come on this journey with me, almost of not self-discovery, but definitely a good reflection on some things, I think, for a lot of people. And that was kind of the goal of this particular podcast here today. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. Before I go any further, I do quickly want to give a shout out to a podcast that I think you guys should check out. I don't normally do this, but this particular podcast I really enjoy. It is a wrestling podcast. So, some people may not be into it, but I know I have a lot of fans who listen to the podcast who are wrestling fans. Particularly a few of you. But the podcast I'm talking about here, guys, is the Old 1-2 Pro Wrestling Podcast. It is done by a man by the name of Jacob Grandi. Now, Jake, he's a guy I kind of met through Twitter. We shoot the breeze and that kind of thing on Twitter once in a while. I know he is a supporter of The Hotter Show, as was I, a supporter of his original podcast that I kind of first listened to, which was the Fastest in the World podcast, an NXT podcast. I always really enjoyed listening to that podcast. I really like listening to Jake talk about wrestling, I guess is the easiest way to put it. You can clearly tell he's a good dude. He loves wrestling. He's been a lifelong wrestling fan. And he's not one of these internet guys who just literally bashes everything. He actually has some good opinions, and you can just tell he really loves the product. So I was a little bummed out when he stopped doing the Fast in the World podcast. But this new podcast he's doing, it's very cool. He's had some really, really great episodes. The first one he did was kind of an interview with Bruce Mitchell from PW Torch. So that was really, really cool. They had a really nice conversation in that there. So definitely check it out, guys. You can find him on Twitter under JG Pro Wrestling. And you can also find him on his SoundCloud at JG Pro Wrestling as well. But I will try and link things in as I can. I will link in his podcast, link in the description of this podcast, so you can check it out. Hopefully enjoy it, and be sure to comment and that kind of thing and like it as well, because it's a great podcast. He's a great guy. But without further ado, I just wanted to give him a quick shout out. We are going to roll into this podcast here right now. Let's get into it. So we're hanging out, we're shooting a breeze. I appreciate you tuning in once again to hang out with me. I got something very specific on my mind, actually, I want to talk about. The whole reason I started doing this podcast, aside from being able to keep in touch with certain people that I may not, see very often or talk to on an everyday basis, that kind of thing, and just talking about things I want to talk about, was to kind of get stuff off my chest, if that makes any sense. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm not upset about anything or anything of that nature. It wasn't like the driving episode where I literally just I had to rant. that was kind of a more joking, comedic episode of the Harder Show. Where this is a little more serious. It's something that I've wanted to kind of talk about for quite a while. It's something I talk about all the time. You'll hear me mention it on the podcast pretty much regardless of who I'm talking to, what we're talking about. If the conversation even remotely goes to this topic, I always talk about it, and I'm very strongly opinionated on this. And some people agree with me. Most people agree with me. But a lot of people don't, and that's totally okay. With so many things in life, when we discuss things of life and that kind of thing on the podcast, opinions and that kind of thing, people are always going to disagree, and that's fine. I am a very opinionated person, if you guys couldn't tell. And, obviously when people agree with me, that's great, but when you don't, that's fine too. But this is something that the people who don't agree with me, most of the time there's a very specific reason as to why. But for the most part, I would think pretty much everyone in the world can agree with me on this. So that's why I want to talk about it. And that is just simply put, guys, when I talk with people about school and work and all that kind of BS, so some people will talk about how they went to school for this and blah, 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 and they did this and that, and then they ended up doing this or whatever. And that's fine. So many people in the world right now that I know have gone to school for something, and they aren't end up in that field. And that it happens sometimes. It's not happening to everybody. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it can happen. And that kind of leads me to my point. If you want to do something, you want to work towards something, you want to do something, regardless of what it is, do it. Don't think about the consequences. Don't think about how you might fail at doing this. Don't think about, what this may affect how this may affect other people within reason. I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to anyway. Obviously, if what you plan on doing is going to end up hurting people, both either physically or emotionally, obviously don't do that. But when it comes to the simple stuff here, folks, I'm talking about if you're sitting here right now going, man, TJ, I would really love to start doing YouTube videos. Do it, guys. Holy cow, just do it. If you're sitting there going, I'd really love to drop out of this stupid business course I'm doing right now and go to school to be a chef. Do it. Obviously, you got to think about kind of the financial side of things as well, a little tiny bit. I'm not saying be irresponsible, but guys, for the love of God, if you want to do something, just go out and do it. Do what you want to do and screw everybody else. Now I say that, and that's the title of this podcast, and people say, whoa, hang on a minute. You can't just do whatever you want and screw everybody else. And they're not wrong in some senses. Once again, I stress this is not about, hey, I really want to go and, uh, you know, what's an extreme example? Hey, I want to go like blow up a building. Okay, well, don't friggin' do that. You might need some help. But, you know, if you go, oh, I want to start making YouTube videos or something where I just rip people apart all the time and put people down and that kind of thing. Okay, that's not cool, folks. But when it comes down to things you want to do, if you're worried about people going, oh, that's silly, why are you doing that? Or that's stupid, or why are you doing this? Like, no one's going to care. You know, you're seriously going to school again for a completely different thing. Stuff like that. I've heard a bunch of different situations. But at the end of the day, if it makes you happy, do it and screw everyone else. I will give you a perfect example. I have two perfect examples, and they're both from my personal experience, and most people have situations like this. When I was 21, somewhere in that ballpark, 2021, I started working with my father, working as a just carpenter's assistant slash laborer, I guess. For those of you who don't know, my father is like the best carpenter in the world, and I'm not just saying that, he really is. And I started working with him after I was done at the travel center the first time, and it was great. I really did enjoy when I was working with him. I learned a lot as far as, you know, how to work and how to, you know, just put in a good day's work, how to treat people, that kind of thing. Like, I did learn so much from my father as far as how to watching him, how he treats customers, and watching him how he works in general. I learned so much, and then obviously on the side of learning a little bit of you know, actual carpentry, I wasn't really open to learn. And you know, unfortunately, we didn't always have time to go or stuff. But whenever we did, I always learned a lot. But I realized very quickly that, folks, I am not a carpenter. I am not a handyman. I am not a drywaller. I am not a roofer. I'm not anything of that nature. I'm just not. That being said, could I potentially be sure? The passion isn't there. Let me explain. I'm the kind of person who I like doing hands-on things. I like to create. Obviously, I'm doing a podcast. But when it comes to doing it for, say, oh, hey, TJ, can you build me this cabinet? I'll pay you. That's when, for some reason, for me, I start losing passion for it. When it becomes a job, I guess you could say I start losing passion for it. I'm not sure why. And it got to the point where after a while, it wasn't really fun for me. It had nothing to do with the actual physical aspect of the job. I enjoyed that part. You know, I like working and getting all sweaty and friggin', you know, hauling around lumber and that kind of thing. It was the whole, I think it was the fact that I was creating, or trying to create for the sake of making money. I don't know if that makes sense. But there was something missing for me, and it really wasn't. I was coming home from work, and I mean, I felt fulfilled as far as putting in a good day's work, but I just wasn't enjoying it, and I realized very quickly that career path was not for me. As much as it kind of sucked to finally admit that to myself, because I wanted to be a carpenter my whole life, you know, even though I very quickly realized I was not very good at it. And that's okay, just for the record. You know, I know so many people who their whole lives they wanted to do one specific thing, and they actually full on tried it and went, wow, like, oh, this kind of sucks. I don't really like this. And that's perfectly fine. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to be a wrestler for like 5 years. Like, full on, I wanted to be a wrestler. Then I took my first back bump and said, screw that. So that's just how it goes. But kind of back to what I was saying. After, well, actually, I was just kind of at the tail end of working with my father. And I actually got really sick This was, holy crap, like 5 years ago. It's a long time ago. The summer of 2012, I want to say. I got like really, really sick. I was sick for like 4 or 5 months. Um, as far as what exactly I had, that's irrelevant, but I was very, very sick. And during that period of time, I think was when I kind of realized, like, yeah, I'm really not. Because I wanted to get better, obviously, but the drive for me to get better, to go back to work, wasn't there. And that kind of sucked, realizing that. I was like, hey, I want to get better so I can do other stuff. I think it was the fact that I was really enjoying having my kind of my time. Also, at the same time, I had, me and Sam had been dating for a few months at that point. So obviously, it was nice being around her all the time. And that was a big reason as to why I really didn't want to go back to work. And during that time, I hadn't been to gigs music in like forever, forever. I think I've told this story before, but I'll just tell it real quick. And I went into the store in Coburg, and just they were like, oh, blah, 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 we're closing, blah, 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 we're going to move to Bowenville. It had always been my dream, like one of my dreams, one of my checks, so to speak, on the old list of life, to work in a music store. That's not me blowing smoke. I literally, one of my life goals was to work in a music store. So, this is where it gets interesting. Against the recommendation of pretty much everyone who, I shouldn't say against the recommendation. A lot of people thought that I should stay working with my father and get into the trades and that kind of thing, because that's where the money is. That's what I always keep hearing. That's where the money is. That's where the money is. And I think it was just finally the realization of, yeah, like, I'll make money, and I'll work hard and do all this and blah, 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 but I'm gonna hate it. I'm gonna be miserable. Would I maybe eventually find a passion for it? Who's to say? But giving it a shot for a couple years, I didn't like it very much. I liked working with my dad, but it was, the other side of it. So I went, you know what? I'm gonna pursue this whole music store thing. And a lot of people, even some of my friends, said, is that really a good idea? And I just said to them, it's what I want to do. I need to do this. I need to take this opportunity, or else I'm going to regret it the rest of my life. Okay? And I took that opportunity. And even though things turned out the way they were, those were 3 of the best years of my life, for sure, for tons of reasons other than just gigs music. But the fact that I woke up every day, went into work, and it didn't feel like work. That's what you want to achieve. So, and even while I was there was people saying, oh, like, you're working at this job, you're not making a bunch of money, blah, 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 why are you here? And it's like, this makes me happy. This fulfills me as far as work is concerned. I have complete fulfillment in my life. Why would I not want that? So it's a passion thing. There's so many people in the world who they're doing what they love, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's just barely paying the bills, but it's paying the bills, folks. I always say, if you have a roof over your head, your bills are paid, and you got food on the table, and you're happy, then what the hell? Like, do you really need that friggin' jet ski? Do you really need that to have 3 cars? Like, do you really need that stuff? If you're not happy, is what I'm stressing at. I know a couple people who they have wonderful jobs and they're making tons of money. But here's a quick news flash, guys. Unfortunately, those people are very unhappy in all aspects of their life. They go, oh, I have all this money and look at my new car and I'm going to buy a house. But then I go, oh, like, so what else is going on? Nothing. Oh, yeah. Okay. I bought this new car. Cool. It's nice. Yeah, it's all right, I guess. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm crazy, but money isn't everything. Money literally cannot buy you happiness. Yeah, it can buy you lots of fancy stuff, but it can't buy you happiness, guys. If you go into work and you hate what you do and you're miserable the entire time you're there, eventually that is going to affect the outside of work. I promise you it will, because it happens. You look at something kind of on the topic we're talking about. You look at something that just happened recently, even in the world of sports. Talking about CM Punk going up against Mickey Gall. Just to kind of segue into this real quick, the whole CM Punk thing is a beautiful example of what I'm trying to get at here, guys. CM Punk did not need to do anything else for the rest of his life. CM Punk could have sat on his couch, gotten fat, grew out his beard even more, and just sat there. Because he made his money, okay? He made all the money he could ever need in the WWE. He walked away from the WWE and he missed out on a lot of money for his own happiness and sanity. And we're not going to get into that, but just kind of follow me here. And CM Punk said, there's a goal I have in my life that I really want to achieve. And luckily, he was in a position where he could achieve that. Not everyone can achieve all of their life goals in an immediate setting. Some people work their whole lives for their life goals, and that's perfectly awesome. That's perfectly okay. CM Punk wanted to fight in the UFC. He wanted to try MMA, and he did. He trained his ass off. He worked very, very hard. He had his debut fight, and, hey, he lost. And he said it best afterwards. He said, well, I lost, but this was still one of the greatest nights of my life. And you could see the look by the look on his face, he wasn't lying. He wanted to try something. He wanted to do something. And all these people, everyone and their grandmother, even including me, I'm pretty sure a couple times in the podcast, were just like, you're not going to win. Why are you doing this? And it wasn't until after the fight that I truly realized, he was doing this because he wanted to. I mean, yes, before anyone says anything, yes, CM Punk did get paid quite a bit of money for what he did. He did walk away with a good chunk of change. But if he wasn't doing it for the sheer passion of doing so, I feel like he wouldn't have gone through all the bullshit. Do you know how hard it is to train MMA? Like, truly? It's not an easy thing to do. I'm not saying I would know from experience, but I would imagine it's not a very fun thing to do. So he did it, and that's a notch, on his belt, so to speak. That's something that he wanted to do, and he did it, guys. And that is something that so many people, I think, kind of miss out on after a while. They go, oh, well, I need to worry about paying my bills, and I need to worry about, making sure my car is always up to date, and making sure that, I can buy all this nice stuff and all these kind of things. And, oh, well, I can't afford to, take that pottery class. I want to, because I need to make sure I go to the, I go to this thing and do this. And it's like, take a breath. If there's something you want to do it. I'll give you another beautiful example from the life of TJ. You're listening to it, folks. This podcast was something that literally was a life goal of mine. It was a little different when I initially set the life goal, but it was something I wanted to do. And guess what, guys? I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm not making money at this, and yeah, I'm not hitting hundreds and hundreds of listens all the time and all that kind of thing, but that's not the point. The point is, I do this podcast because I truly love to sit down at this microphone, okay, folks, and talk. I like to talk to you guys. Whoever of you who are listening, I love to talk to you. I love to sit here and ramble on aimlessly about stuff just like this, because it's something that's on my mind and I want to talk about it. I love hanging out with my friends and with people who even maybe I don't know that well, and get to know them and talk to them and talk about real life stuff. Talk about funny things, talk about wrestling, talk about whatever, music, whatever the hell we're talking about. It's because I love doing it. And I think that some people maybe lose sight of that. I had someone say to me the other day, and this actually really bothered me. It was really weird. And I tell you guys everything, so I'm talking about it. But I had someone who remained nameless say to me the other day, they said, oh, how's the podcast going? And I said, as I say to everybody, it's going great. I'm happy with everything. I love doing it, like, right on. And this person said, oh, well, cool, like, as long as you're enjoying it. Because, I don't know if anyone else is. I kind of went, That's kind of a douchey thing to say. It's like, well, I mean, you aren't getting very many plays. You're not, you haven't like gotten any sponsors yet or anything, you know. Aside from Mr. Jason Race, of course. And he's just like, so like, why are you still doing it? And I kind of just looked at him and I went like, what the hell? Who the hell are you to, to say something like that to me? Like, and I just said to him, I said, you know what, man? I am doing this because I love it. And it gives me fulfillment. Do not get me wrong. I have so many other things in my life that are fulfilling to me. I have an amazing, wonderful girlfriend who gives me purpose in this world. She's the reason I get out of bed every single morning. I have a wonderful family who I know love me and will always be there for me no matter what. I know I have wonderful friends who same thing, they will be there for me no matter what. And a whole cast of characters that are kind of not necessarily in my immediate friends group, but I know that's we're cool. We're buddies, and it's something I kind of like. I think about it and I go, if somebody talks down to you about something that you are doing that makes you happy, because I got really angry. I didn't really say anything. I kind of turned the other cheek because I know that this person didn't necessarily mean to insult me. Just they were kind of like maybe dropping some truth on me. I don't know what the deal was. Because I do talk about the podcast with people. I say, hey, yeah, I do a podcast. Blah, blah. I'm kind of talking about it more with people I don't necessarily know that well. And I don't do it in the sense of, hey, you should listen to my podcast. It's more like, hey, like just letting people know about me because it's something that, it is a little unique. I mean, anyone can have a podcast. It's not a big deal. But it is something that is unique about me, and it's something that has become a big part of my life. And so when someone talks down to it, it's almost like someone's insulting my child, if that makes sense. But I thought about it. I went, here's a person who, I don't know this person that well, and they really don't know me that well. I would say we're buddies, but it's not like, we hang out all the time and I see him all the time. But, this person, there's something that if he feels the need to talk down to me about something that I love doing and I am doing just because I want to do it, maybe there's something, is it jealousy? I don't think it's jealousy. I think it's some people just don't have that. I don't know if it's drive or determination to just go out and do what they want to do. I mean, man, if you want to say, you want to write a book, okay, guys? You want to write a book, write a friggin' book, okay? I was going to write a book. I ended up doing a podcast. It's what happens. But when someone talks down to you or negatively to you about that thing that you want to do, don't let it discourage you. Don't let it ruin the drive you have to do it, because at the end of the day, guys, it doesn't matter what they think. It matters what you think. If it makes you happy, if you go to bed every single night and you are happy with what you did with your day because you got to do that thing again that you love to do. Hey guys, if your passion in life and the thing that gives you fulfillment is to, binge watch stuff on Netflix, then right on, If you're sitting there and you go, man, like I really want to, I really want to start a blog. Hey, I really want to, buy a PS4. Like it doesn't matter. I'm kind of getting off topic with some of the stuff now, but if it makes you happy, then do it and just screw what everyone else thinks. Seriously, that's kind of what I am driving at here, folks, because if you're happy, and you're fulfilled in your life, then you will give off that vibe to everyone else. All right, guys, I'm going to take a quick second here to give a shout out to my man, Mr. Jason Reese over at Jaybird Digital Arts. Jason does phenomenal work, whether you need a logo done, you need t-shirts, posters, album design, you need tickets done up, photo manipulation. You're still with me? You need advertising stuff, you need business stationery, you need mailers, you need brochures, fine art, and literally anything else you can think of. Jaybird Digital Arts can create it. No project is just a generic template for Jason, and every single job is an opportunity to create something unique. So if that sounds appealing to you, be sure to hit Jason up on the web at www.jaybird, that's Jaybird, Jaybird, digitalarts.com. You can also find him on Facebook under the Jaybird Digital Arts handle, and as well on Instagram under the Jaybird Digital Arts handle. If you'd like a look at stuff that Jason has done on the social media, be sure to hit the hashtag Jaybird Digital Arts link that is on all of the Harder Show stuff. Take a closer look at the kind of things Jason has done, and if you do happen to use his services, be sure to let him know that TJ sent you. If there's something I've kind of realized more about myself lately, is the fact that I definitely pick up on that kind of stuff. People can affect my mood very quickly and very easily, and I can always tell when I talk with somebody, even if it's someone I don't know, who is just a very miserable person. I can tell, like, man, like, this person isn't happy with their life, and that sucks. You know, I was talking with a gentleman the other day, just kind of shooting the breeze about a couple things, and he was kind of a grouchy guy, but as the conversation went on, he kind of got a little more happy, and, you know, he said, oh, so, like, you're working here, just at my job, and I said, yeah, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking to him, and he says, oh, well, you know, like, don't you aspire to do anything else? And I said, well, sure, but I'm happy here, and I have other things in my life that make me happy and give me fulfillment. He kind of looked at me crooked, and I said, you know, I am not, you know, my entire life is not made up of my job. It was for a long time when I worked at gigs, and that's fine. That was the kind of job it was, where literally I lived and breathed and ate and slept gigs music, and that's awesome, and I loved that while I was doing it. And the job I'm at now, that is not how it is there. When I am there, when I clock in, I am there. I am eating and sleeping and breathing, and, you know, I'm there in the moment, and I'm working my butt off as much as I possibly can. But when I clock out of there, that's that. And I come home, and I have other things in my life that make me happy. If I didn't have those things, would I be a miserable person? Maybe. Who knows? Am I a miserable person anyway? I don't know. But I try not to be. Something as simple as just sitting in front of a microphone and recording audio, the amount of fulfillment that it gives me, it's really something amazing. Because it's not a job. Obviously, if this was a job, I wouldn't be very good at it because I'm not making money. And again, that's not what the goal is with this, folks. I just want to stress that again. But as I kind of kept talking to this gentleman, he went, oh, well, you know, I'm a whatever he did for his job. And he kind of said to me, oh, but I always wanted to do this. And I said, well, why don't you do it? And he said, oh, well, that's not an option. I said, well, why not? Like, it doesn't, I can't recall the job that he wanted to do, but it wasn't that far-fetched. Like, it was, you know, and I think it was like he was in business of some kind or something, and what he really wanted to do was like open a small store or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but I think it was like a specialty sports store or something like that. And I said, well, like, why don't you do it? He said, oh, I can't. I said, well, do you mind if I ask why? Oh, well, just, you know, there's just no point in trying. And here's a guy who, you know, maybe money was the issue. I'm not sure. But he wouldn't even look into it. He wouldn't even, I said, well, why don't you go to the bank and look into it? And just, no, like, there's no point. And I just went, man, like, that bums me out, because here's a guy who, he has a passion for something, and he always dreamed of doing it. And he was, you know, I think he was in his, I'd say about late 50s. And here's something that he's probably wanted to do his whole life, and he hasn't even tried to do it, you know, because it's just, oh, well, I have to go to work and pay my bills and just shut up and, come home and cut the damn grass and just, do my thing. And people who get fulfillment out of that, that's fine. Like, right on. It's awesome. If your life goal is to literally work hard, save all your money, buy nice things, have a family, and, buy a nice house with picket fencing and retire, like, right on. That is phenomenal. Do that, but if you want more than just that, then please, I implore you. That's right, implore you. Nice word for DJ Hotter here. Do it. Just do it. If you told me that this time last year, actually, if you told me that I would actually be doing the podcast and I would just for the love of doing it, I'd probably go, well, why? Like, that's crazy. Why would I actually do a podcast? It's a joke. And it's something that I just absolutely fall in love with, and it's become such a big part of my life. And there are some things where, say, if you're in a job and you hate it, you absolutely despise it. Maybe you don't hate the job itself, but you can't stand the people you work with, and your boss treats you like crap and blah 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 blah. Everyone's boss treats them like crap sometimes. That's just how it is. But if it's another level, I have someone in my life who was in that situation where it was a job they loved, but they stopped loving it because it just was beating them down and eating, like, every single day, chipping away, and then finally just when, I don't want to do this anymore. I said to this person, there's a really simple answer to this. Then don't. Oh, well, I can't just not do it because I have to do this and I have to do this. And it's like, this particular job does not give you the freedom to do other things. This job is completely 100% your life. And if you can't stand it and you hate it and you just do not want to go to work every single day. Everyone has days they don't want to go to work, folks. Don't get me wrong. But if every single day you're just like, man, like I don't want to do this. I can't stand this. I hate this. Then look for something else. You'd be surprised. People will say to me, oh, well, you clean toilets, and you're sitting here telling me that you enjoy that job when it gives you fulfillment. Absolutely. My job is something I know I'm good at. It's physical enough that I come home from work and I am physically tired. I know I've put in a good day's work. There's not a lot of mental challenges, but when there are, I overcome them. I'm in a situation where everyone I work with, I like and get along with. I'm in a position where I'm a supervisor, so I do have a tiny little bit of, not power, but just I'm a step up from like a kind of a normal worker, which is, I think, kind of right around where I want to always be from here on out. Just in a position where I have the opportunity to go above and beyond basically whenever I want, if that makes any sense. It's almost I guess expected in a way, not in a bad thing at all, but just when I am at work and there's things that need to be done and blah blah blah, like I just do it, and I don't think twice about it. And being in a supervisor type role, I like to lead by example, and I think that's the best way to do it. And a lot of that comes from the fact that, I do like my job, I do have a passion for what I do. At the end of the day, I am still in customer service, and I do have a passion for that. Just today, I had someone come up to me and they needed my help with something, and I took the time to thoroughly make sure I helped them with what they needed. And afterwards, this lady kind of looked at me and she just went, I've never seen anybody so passionate about what you just talked about. I'm just like, well, I mean, I'm not passionate about everything when I am talking about, like, even if it's something as simple as, I can't remember what she asked me, but it was just the way I presented it. She was like, oh my, like, you can tell you're like, just like you're happy and you're passionate. I said, well, I like to help people. It makes me happy. If there's things about myself is I know I love to help people and I love to entertain people. I like to make people laugh. I like to make people think. I like to make people go, ah, that stupid TJ. He's a goof. That makes me happy, you know? And do every day at work, do I get to help a customer? Not necessarily all the time, but maybe it's a coworker. Maybe a manager comes and says, "Oh, hey TJ, when you have time, can you do this or whatever?" Yeah, sure, no problem. And I do it, and it gives me fulfillment. And they go, "Oh, awesome, great job," or whatever. That gives me fulfillment. That makes me happy. Are there bad days? Sure, of course. There's bad days with any job, and there's bad days even in your dream jobs. There was days at gigs even where, I mean, it sucked, and that's okay. That's fine, but it still made me happy. It still gave me fulfillment, and I didn't care what anybody else thought. And right now, I still don't. Do I see myself working where I work for the rest of my life? No, but that's beside the point. Do I have other goals in my life that I want to achieve? Abso-freaking-lutely. And I will work on those until the day I die. I will not go into my grave saying to myself, man, I should have done this, or I wish I did that. I wish I took that opportunity. If it's stuff that, if it's something I've always wanted to do and it presents itself to me, I'm going to do it, man. Like, why wouldn't you? The individual I was talking about earlier who left their job, they left and they were kind of, oh, I don't know if I made the right decision. And literally, like, I think a week later, they got a job in their actual field of study that they went to school for. And that's amazing. I mean, that's just truly incredible. And, it was an opportunity that presented itself. And it was part-time in the field. It wasn't really a lot of hours. But, I said to this person, you should do it anyway. This is an opportunity. And, I mean, they were going to take it before I said they should anyway. But they took the opportunity, and now they're doing it, and they're happy. Oh, my gosh. Like, they're happy. Who would have thunk it? Just, are they making a ton of money at this job? Not right now, no. But they're happy. They come home from work, and, oh, how'd work go? Oh, I'm exhausted. But it was great. And I think that's the key when it comes to anything. If you are, you're a guitar player and you go, I would really love to form a band. Then form a band. You know how easy it is nowadays to form a band? You don't even have to live in the same country. You can friggin', well, okay, I shouldn't say that. If you want to start like an internet band, do it. Just do it. Don't think about it. Don't think about the haters. Don't think about this and that or whatever. Because at the end of the day, who cares? Who cares what some idiot who lives in 10,000 miles away says about your guitar playing skills? Oh, you suck. Screw that guy. Who cares? Are you happy with it? Is it making you happy? Then screw them, man. I can't fathom it when people will say to me, oh, well, like, I would do this, but I don't know if I could take the criticisms. I had someone say to me the other day that they would love to start doing a podcast. And I went, right on, go for it. What's stopping you? Oh, just, like, what if people talk negatively about it to me? Or what if people, like, hate comment and that kind of thing? I said, there's a very simple answer to that question, my friend. So what's that? Delete it. Block them. Done. You do not need people who... there are people in this world, guys, who go out of their way to just make other people miserable. Because they themselves are miserable people. And that's fine. Whatever. Do you. Be a hater, be a troll, whatever. Do whatever gives you any kind of little bit of fulfillment, even though I think you should really rethink your entire life. And I'm not talking about people who troll as a joke or who kind of chirp in a joking way or whatever. I know some people are just like that. Even me, myself, have my moments where I can be quite the troll and quite the chirper. And that's something about myself that I actually don't really like anymore. And I'm kind of trying to grow out of that. That is another topic for another time. But the people who just literally, I will see them comment on stuff, and just tear it to shreds just because they have a keyboard in front of them or they have their phone in their hand. And they're just gonna talk crap because they can, and because they know that they're never gonna see this person in real life. This person's never gonna confront them, so they say whatever they want and they bash and they attack, and they don't care. And there are people I know who have stopped doing things because of stuff like that, and that sucks. If you stop doing things because other people are hating on you for it, or because it may not be the most popular thing in the world to do, that sucks. I can remember when I first got into wrestling. Wrestling was not popular at the time, folks. There's a big news flash. No one cared about wrestling. I got made fun of so much for wrestling. And the fact that when I would say I wanted to legit be a wrestler, and they're like, yo, like, especially like when I was like older, they're like, okay, like this is a joke, right? Like, you're a joke. And it's like, no, like, I love this. This makes me happy. So why are you hating on me? Like, I'm just trying to live my life and do what makes me happy. And at the time, when I was young and that kind of thing, it would really upset me. And now, someone talks crap or whatever, I don't have time for it. I'm just like, no, all right, that's fine. Do your thing. I'm not saying criticisms are a bad thing. I have had people give me positive criticisms about the podcast and that kind of thing, and that's awesome. I always love those. What are some things I can do better? Hey man, here's some things you can do better. Right on. If someone just goes, your podcast sucks, you suck. Whatever. It's just, you move on with your life. Back in the day in high school when I had the now famous because of the podcast, in a way, I guess, Facebook, MySpace page band Cornerstone with my buddies. We weren't a band, folks. That's just the reality of the situation. But we thought we were, and we would sometimes act as such, and we would just get like ragged on and made fun of for it. And it used to really, really bother me because I'd be like, I love doing this. This is a passion. I would get made fun of for writing lyrics and posting them and writing like songs and posting them. Like, I would get made fun of for that. And now I look back and I go, man, like that made me happy. How dare you friggin' come into my world, so to speak, and put me down and insult me? How dare you do that? You have no right doing that. And the unfortunate reality of it, folks, is, I mean, they do have that right. They can do whatever they want, but it didn't stop me. But it did hurt. And I think it's okay to sometimes hurt for what you love to do and what you want to do. Sometimes you're not always going to get love from it, so to speak, if that makes any sense. If you are a musician, especially, or if you're someone who is an artist, you draw or you create things. Sometimes you might say you're a painter, and you paint this beautiful picture. You've put hours and hours of time into it. And you look at it and you're just fulfilled and you have butterflies and you're just like, I can't believe I created this. This is amazing. And maybe you put it up at a gallery or something. I don't know how it works in the art world. And just people kind of look at it and go, whatever. Say you're trying to sell it, no one buys it. I would understand how much that would suck. And maybe you take it down and you put it, at the back of your studio or whatever, you never look at it again. But no, like that's not how it should be. You should display that proudly and go, I did this. I created this and I love this. This gives me fulfillment. This makes me happy. If you friggin' made a video of you burping the alphabet and you're proud of it and it makes you happy, put it up on YouTube and go, look world, I did this. This makes me happy. It gives me fulfillment. Okay, I'm kind of stretching a little bit now, guys, but I think you get the point I'm trying to get at here. There are musicians I know who are working on being musicians as their careers. And I always say to them, I wish nothing but the absolute best, because all of them can do it. They all have the drive. They all have the determination. They all have the skill level, which, ladies and gentlemen, it is important. And they have the right mindsets and everything. But if there's one thing I always try to say, it's just don't get discouraged when things are rough. You're not going to get signed right away. You're not going to go on tour and immediately get famous. Like it's gonna take time. You know, if you say you play a big show, you know, you're opening with a big band or something, and then afterwards that band doesn't come up to you and say you guys were awesome. That's okay. You know, there are going to be letdowns with this passion that you want to follow, and that is okay. You know, am I sitting here? I can't sit here and honestly say that, you know, hey, sometimes would it be nice to maybe get a few more plays on the podcast? Sure, maybe. But then I think about it and I go, well, I'm not doing this for that though. Why is that affecting me? Why is that bothering me? And I think it's kind of almost in a way been drilled into our heads that as creators and as artists and as musicians and people with passion, that it has to be accepted by the rest of the world, I guess, if that makes any sense. And my whole point of doing this podcast here, guys, is to literally say to that and to those people, no, that's not how it should be. Just do what makes you happy and literally screw everyone else. You know, I mean, damn, don't not do something because you're afraid or because there's going to be people who aren't going to get it. And that's not just necessarily about creating content and that kind of stuff. Be the person you want to be. Holy crap. If you want to go like lose a bunch of weight and freaking be a ballerina or something, then go do that. Rock on, go do it. If you want to dye your hair purple and spike it up and get 30,000 piercings and tattoos all over you, then go do it. If you want to start dressing up like a clown and walking around town, you're going to get some weird friggin' looks, okay? But do it. Don't be creepy about it, but just do it. You know? Damn, if you're not happy with how you are as a person, this is going to get real deep here for a second, but you know, if you're not happy with what you and who you appear to be and you go, man, I really don't like this about myself, then change that. I said earlier, the fact that, you know, I do, I guess, I wouldn't say talk smack, but like almost chirp away sometimes. That's something very recently about myself. I'm kind of going, you know, I don't really like that I do that. I'm always going to do that. That's always going to be a part of me and who I am. I never, ever, ever mean it in a serious, derogatory way, because bullying is not cool, and I don't like bullies. I punch bullies in the face, but it's still something about myself. I'm like, you know, like I'm not really a fan of that about me, and it is okay to have some things about yourself, you know, you don't like, but if it's a major thing, and I think we all kind of know what I'm driving at here. I'm not going to get into it, but, you know, if it's something that you've maybe accepted about yourself and you haven't told anyone else or whatever, tell people, do it. Nowadays, it is so accepted to just be who you are and do whatever you want. Again, within reason. It's so accepted nowadays to be what maybe a few years ago would be viewed as weird, I guess. You know, I'll talk to people who are big fans of cosplay even, and they'll, you know, these are people who might be a little more, not in a derogatory term, but quote unquote geeky than the average person, and they might get looked at differently for it. But then they go to these conventions and they see people who are just like them and they adore them and they talk to them and it's great, and that feeling should be everywhere else, because you should have that feeling wherever you go. You should walk out of your house every day and just screw everyone else. I like me. I'm happy with me. I've got my friggin' clown suit on or whatever, you know, and I've got my painting up in my living room, and I've got my album on iTunes, and I've got my YouTube series started, and I'm doing this because it makes me happy, and I am fulfilled. I am happy. And you will go to bed that night and go, yes, like I've done this, you know, I'm happy and this gives me fulfillment. And once again, folks, I say this once again, screw everyone else. So Kind of random that I wanted to talk about that today. I don't know if it's something that's kind of been in my mind for a while. I hope I kind of drove my point home because it is something serious to me that I'll talk to people who want to do things and they don't. So it's something that I just wanted to get off my chest. So thank you for listening, guys. I appreciate it. Maybe it was to myself as well. Who knows? But either way, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to tune in and click on the play button today. It means the world to me. I hope that maybe if you are one of those people who maybe you wanted to do something, maybe hopefully this inspired you in some little tiny way, trying to affect the world any way that I can here, folks. That's what this podcast is all about. Not only entertainment, but to help change the world, ladies and gentlemen. So that is going to do it for me here today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, clicking that play button, regardless of how you listen, to whether you're doing it on the SoundCloud. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a like and comment away on this podcast if you enjoyed it. Quick note, I do always sincerely appreciate anytime I get reposts and that kind of thing. It has happened a few times, and I do seriously appreciate that. It really means the world to me, so thank you everybody who has ever done that. If you guys are listening on the YouTube channel, be sure to leave a like or dislike on this video depending on what you thought of it, and hit the living heck out of that subscribe button so you can keep up with everything that happens on the Hotter Show YouTube channel. Haven't done an update video in a while. Someone mentioned that to me the other day. Like, I haven't done an update video in a while. I'm just because where I live, because where I live, my internet isn't the greatest. So for me to upload a 1 minute long actual video can take like forever sometimes. So sometimes it's hard to justify doing it. It's just easy to put up a status sometimes, or Snapchat. I literally Snapchat like crazy. So if you do want to keep up with some things maybe I'm doing, be sure to hit me up on the Snapchat. It's at Terrence James, TERRANCE, James, JAMES. And I've kind of been doing that more lately, so definitely keep an eye on that. And keep your eyes peeled as well to my YouTube channel. There is lots of stuff that I want to start doing on the YouTube channel, as I've talked about before. None of which I can really do right this exact second, but it is what it is. I will continue to be ready to build that YouTube channel. But of course, also, if you're listening on the iTunes, which you guys know is the easiest way to listen to the Harder Show, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with everything that happens on the iTunes. The second it happens, once you subscribe to the Harder Show on iTunes, you don't even have to think about it, folks. Every single time an episode is posted, it will be automatically downloaded to the device of your choosing, whether it's your iPod, your iPad, your Mac, your whatever the hell you have the iTunes podcast app on, or the Apple Music app on. It will be downloaded directly, and you do not even have to think about it. And really, ladies and gentlemen, when you have the option to not think and just you go on and go, oh, cool, a podcast. What's not to like, folks? I know I love that personally, so hey, why not? But that's going to do it for me here today, guys. Thank you so much again for tuning in, clicking that play button, and I will catch you guys next time on The Harder Show. Take it easy.